How many weeks are we this week?
15.
15. Can you see the baby bump?
No, I can see your fats.
Ah. I'm actually sighing because all I can say is this journey is really very tough and very challenging. We've actually just announced that our third pregnancy is a success and we've made it so far. We even found out about the gender and now we are facing with another problem that we didn't see coming at all. During my 12 weeks scan, which is the first result that we have gotten from the Harmony and NIPT test, which you guys saw in the previous video, the doctor did identify that our son has ARSA.
Here, you see the color? This is a trachea. Usually this one is behind the trachea, one more vessels here. We call it ARSA. Usually here is nothing here. So there is extra vessels here, we call ARSA. Yes, it's still there.
Extra artery in the heart. Okay, he did assure us a lot of times not to be worried because it's a pretty common symptom. But then when I asked for the percentage of the people getting it throughout the population, they mentioned that it is only 1%. So I don't think 1% is a very common figure, but nonetheless, I was not very worried. We just went on our appointments, our life as it is. Then on the 14th week, I went for a scan alone because I mean everything is fine, right? Doctor says that baby is growing well, just that there's this ARSA issue, but it's common, so I don't need to worry too much. So I went for a scan myself, and the scan turned out to be a nightmare because during the scan they found out that there's actually 2 more white markers in my baby's heart other than ARSA. So it's like echogenic something. I have no idea what is the exact scientific term of it, but they found 2 white markers and they're unable to identify what is causing these 2 white markers. We did 2 tests, right? One is Harmony and one is NIPT. So one of the tests is actually for Down syndrome and is to test whether my kid has Down syndrome. And thankfully, we are at a super low risk for that test. However, the other test, which is to test for like DiGeorge syndrome, trisomy, etc., it's only 75% accuracy. For the 75%, we are considered very low risk as well, but because there's these 2 white markers appearing in my son's heart, they are unable to verify or confirm whether these 2 white markers is related to the remaining 25% which we are unable to detect. The probability of my kid having an issue initially was 1:10,000, which is a very assuring figure, right? But after the 14-week scan and they found out that there's these 2 white markers, it dropped from 1:348, and that was a news which I was not prepared to hear and not prepared to hear alone. And I started crying because I have no idea how to accept this news because yeah, it's just not something that we expected. The doctor did suggest that maybe we can do amniocentesis fluid test. What amniocentesis fluid test does is that they'll inject into my water bag and then they'll retrieve the amniotic fluid, because when they do that test, it's a 100% accuracy on whether my baby's healthy or not. Of course, there are certain things that they can't test for, like for example autism or other special needs, but all the tests that we are testing for during the Harmony and NIPT, the amniocentesis fluid test can test for everything 100%. And honestly, I really don't know if I want to do the test because the chances of getting a miscarriage from the test is actually 1 out of 300, because it is considered a high risk test as you are poking a needle into your water bag, and if the hole doesn't heal properly, or if you get an infection, or if doctor accidentally poke into the fetus or whatever, it will cause a miscarriage, and I'm not ready to go through a third miscarriage considering how far I've come for this pregnancy. But then again, to be very honest, I'm also not ready to not know what's going on, you know. Like, I really want to know what's going on. Like, I really want to know that my kid is safe, my kid is healthy. So we called the doctor, we called our gynae. Our gynae was really nice to call us immediately after this, and he just told us that if we want to go ahead with this, let's just do it. As in, let's have confidence, let's have faith that it will be a positive outcome, and let's just do it. So after thinking for a few days, almost a week actually, we actually consulted our family, consulted our friends, and went on like forums to ask other people, and we decided to just go ahead with the amniocentesis fluid test. That was very nerve-wracking. I think the days leading up to the amniocentesis fluid test was very, very nerve-wracking because I really don't know what to expect, and on top of it, we were leaving for Korea shortly, in less than a week after the test. So we went for the amniocentesis fluid test. The whole process was really smooth. The doctors were really good, very assuring. So one of my concerns would be that when I'm doing an amniocentesis fluid test, I only want senior doctors and I only want senior nurses, as this is considered a high-risk procedure. And thankfully, all the people who are in charge of doing amniocentesis fluid tests are super experienced, and they have gone through many rounds of training. So the nurses there, doctors there were assuring me that I don't need to worry. And yes, during the whole procedure, they were really serious. They were not like laughing, not like talking or whatever. They were very serious, very assuring, and it was okay, yeah. But honestly, it was a bit painful because they actually poked a pretty long and thick needle right into the water bag all the way down, and then my stomach started bleeding. But that's how the procedures go. It does feel like a belly piercing, so the pain level is probably a 7 out of 10, and we gotta wait 2 weeks for the result. We will only be getting the result towards the end of our Korea trip, which sucks because we are going to the Korea trip with this thing constantly at the back of our mind, you know, and it's just so tough. The toughest part is not just the amniocentesis fluid test. Toughest part is the fact that we keep getting rejected by insurers. So the moment we hit 13 weeks, I immediately applied for insurance for me, myself, and my baby. But we keep getting rejected because of 2 issues. One would be of my 2 miscarriages before, and I cannot not talk about it because it's like already documented into the hospital record, and I don't think it's nice to lie to the insurer. So we had to report that, and then because of my baby's ARSA condition, it's considered very high risk for insurers, so they have rejected us, and till date we are still trying to appeal. And shout out to all the agents who have been helping us, and I just feel so bad because we are talking to a couple of agents at one go, and we did tell them that your effort might go to waste because we might still get rejected, and yeah, we are still getting rejected as of now. So